Hello and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, a platform where the voices and stories of Canadian entrepreneurs and small business owners come to life. I'm your host SK, and before we dive into today's exciting episode, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful partners who make this show possible. A big thank you to our exclusive banking partner RBC, our exclusive shipping partner UPS, and our exclusive accounting software partner Xero. Your unwavering support empowers entrepreneurs across the nation. Entrepreneurs and small business owners are the backbone of our economy. They bring innovation, create jobs, and keep the heart of our local communities beating. Today, we are joined by a remarkable advocate for this vital sector, Tony Chapman. Tony is not just a voice in the media, he is a champion for small businesses and entrepreneurs, an inductee into the Marketing Hall of Legends and the Canadian Advertising and PR Hall of Fame. Tony's career highlights include founding two internationally acclaimed advertising agencies and research firms. In today's episode, we are going to explore the depths of Tony's passion for small businesses, his insights on the current business landscape, and much more. Stay tuned as we uncover the wisdom and experiences of one of the most influential figures in the Canadian business world. Let's get started. Hello, Tony. Welcome to Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. The last time we saw each other was virtually when you spoke at one of our conferences. It's nice to have you in our studio. Are you ready for your 10 questions?
I'm ready, and I'm such a fan of what you've done with your magazine, your conference, how you're supporting small business owners. So I can tell you that I've been looking forward to this for quite some time.
Thank you so much. Tony, where does your love come from for small business owners, for Main Street and entrepreneurs? Every time you are in the media, it seems you're championing the underdogs and rallying Canadians to buy and shop local. Why?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm an underdog. I came from very humble beginnings, and I've always felt that I had to fight to get. And I think that's really the heart of what small business owners are. I mean, truly, they're the heart of our economy. And collectively, it's in our self-interest to keep them beating strong. This is where the energy of Main Street comes from. This is where jobs, innovation, a lot of people have come to Canada. You're a classic case of immigrants that have come to Canada, started a business, contributed to the overall wealth of our country. So I'm a much bigger fan of investing in small business than I am, for example, of putting billions of dollars to bring a branch plant battery operation in Ontario. I think where the money should be poured is made in Canada, created in Canada, and staying in Canada.
Who was your mentor or motivational figure? Whom is there from family or from your network or from your friends?
It's a great question. I mean, over my life, I've been blessed with many people. I think my mother taught me resilience, and she never made it easy. I've told the story before, but lemonade stand, every kid does, set up Kool-Aid, you make some money. She, I was age 5. She made me rent the pitcher, buy the Kool-Aid, figure out profit margin. I had to set it up in the sunny side of the park. I had to work harder than I wanted. But at the end, I think I really learned the value of I earned that money. And then along the way, I've met people that have just believed in my abilities. And even when I felt I was an imposter or I didn't belong in this room or in this classroom, it's always been somebody that's reached out and said, you've got something of value to bring. And I guess that just carried me on, and why I think anytime somebody comes to me and says, if I have the time, can I ask you a question or pick your brain? Whatever I can, I give back, because so many people have given to me.
Yeah. And Tony, you are very active on social media, and I love seeing and sharing your content. What motivates you to chat with so many entrepreneurs and sharing their stories with, especially when it comes to small business owners? What motivates you?
I think if we start working together, Canada is so divided right now, east, west, left wing, right wing, and everybody's just sort of angry. And I think that when you put out positivity and possibility, when you give ideas up, you say, have you thought about this? Or here's a great story of somebody doing this. I think if we could push back against that wall of negativity, I think we're a better planet. We're a better human race. So that's what I try to do. I try to put out, I hope, things that are of value that people can take from and maybe apply to their business or doing business or their life.
Right. Tell us about your podcast, Chatters That Matters. What it's about and how you have grown it now, being in the top 1% of most popular worldwide.
Its success is very little to do with me and everything to do with the guests. So the idea of Chatter That Matters, building on what we just talked about, I see a world where we are absolutely drowning drowning in the storm of negativity, and with it, a growing sense of impossibility. So I said, I want to counter that with stories of positivity and possibility. How do I do that? I'm going to interview people each week. They're going to share a story of overcoming circumstances. And when they do, they get to reclaim or chase their dreams. And by doing that, they change their world and often ours for the better. So it's the hero's journey. It's really about everything somebody's learned along the way, the obstacles, the headwinds, the competitors I have to overcome, the mentors, the people that help me. And I think that whether that's a story of somebody overcoming addiction, trauma in their childhood, building a business, winning a gold medal, finding an audience for your music, it doesn't matter. That storyline to me is inspiring because it's real people. It's authentic. We can relate to them and we can say, hey, if they did it, maybe there's something I can take away so I can do it.
I think you should publish a book as you have so many stories to tell.
You know, I've been asked, and there's Aaron Bethune out of the East Coast has been very active in trying to get me to do it. My first two agencies, I had over 100 employees. I had all that came with that, the good and the bad. And last 10 years, as I reinvented myself, I said, I'm going to do this on my own, my terms, my schedule. And it's just a question of time. And it's also a bit of an imposter syndrome. Would anybody actually ever read the book? On LinkedIn, 1,400 characters, whatever it is, it's short, it's tight. I can go through that. Would somebody actually pick up a book? Is there enough in there? I don't know. But maybe one day, as my wife says, when you run out of your audience, you're probably going to do stand-up in a retirement home. So maybe then I'll write the book.
You will never run out of the audience. You know, like people love your content. I myself as a publisher love your content, and I always keep sharing it so that more and more people can get benefited.
And I really appreciate it. You know, you've got such a great enterprise here, but you give a lot. You don't ask a lot and you give a lot. And I think that's what makes you so successful. And I know, and I've read a lot of the articles in your magazines and the people that you feature. And I think it must really mean something when they can go home that night and say to their parents or their partner or their kids, hey, somebody cared enough about me to feature me in their magazine. And I think just that's testament to a good day's work.
Yeah, that's our mission, like empowering every small business owner. That's what we do.
Well, you do it so well. And I mean, and listen, it's, those rungs are hard to reach for nowadays. Lots of headwind. I mean, and I've never seen in a marketplace quite like this. And we thought the pandemic was tough. Then we come out, there's inflation, talent shortage. There's supply chain issues. There's bureaucracy. There's taxes. Everything is going as these headwinds. And I think it's so important what you're doing to tell people, yeah, those rungs are hard to hold on to. And it's icy cold. It's tough to get a grip. But if you just keep going after it and climb up there, you can make it. And that's what small business is all about, resilience.
Tony, coming back to Chatters That Matters, I believe it roots were with small businesses. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, we started, so this is interesting. First 5 or 6 episodes, Chatter That Matters was just my little project because I heard about podcasts. I said, geez, what's podcast about? So I started producing some of my thinking in life. And then when the pandemic hit, I had 16 gigs canceled. So I'm the keynote speaker. I do a lot of conference hosting. And I said, well, what am I going to do now? I guess I'm going to retire. And what can you do with the economy shut down?
It must be a very big challenge for you that time, right?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because I loved what I did. And so I took the podcast and I went to RBC. We both share them. What an incredible company.
Yeah.
And I said, I think small businesses are going to get hurt hard. And at the time, we thought economy was going to close for a couple of weeks.
Right.
But I said, I want to do a podcast where each week we feature a story of an entrepreneur, their journey. And then I'll invite in 3 people from my network, 3 people that probably never would have heard from because those people were really busy. I get Joe Mimran and Arlene Dickinson, and I'll get, Bruce Croxon and Erica M. and these incredible, talented people who they also had time. Right. And they would come in and almost do this as a case study. They would listen to Tracy Shepard and how her wheels fell off and come in and offer advice. And that's how it started. RBC bought 8 episodes. Then they bought another 8. Then they came to me and said, can we expand it beyond small business? And now we're over 200 episodes.
Yeah, I saw, whenever you post a new podcast, a lot of interaction and engagement is there. A lot of people, they want to learn, how these entrepreneurs overcame the challenges, what they have learned.
Yeah, and at the end of so how the podcast is, if you haven't listened to Chatter Matters, it always starts with a personal story about why this matters to me. Yeah. So I got to get you on the podcast because just talking to you today, we've never met personally until today. It was always virtually. I love the story. You got all this eclectic background, India, Brazil, Dubai, coming in, forming this business, trying to grow this business. This stuff is fascinating.
Yeah.
So personally, I relate to it because there's a person that's looking for silver linings. And then we do your story. And at the end, I go, here's my 3 takeaways. And people really like the 3 takeaways because it's what I'm going to take and put in my knapsack as my gift from you. And I think that that's really where we get a lot of the interaction with the audience because they go, Erica M. Talking about how her mother wired her only to be super. Right. And she said that with that came a lot of pain, a lot of stress, but at the same time, it made me feel like I was invincible. So when I got in front of Kurt Cobain and interviewed him on Much Music, I was confident enough to do it because that's how I was wired. Right. And so it's just that exchange that goes back and forth that I think knits together this sense of positivity.
Is it harder now to be in business, or does it just feel that way because we haven't been in a recession for a long time?
I've taken my agencies in the past through 3 big recessions. I always say when the wind is blowing, I'm not saying it's easy to be in business, but you can hide a lot of mistakes. When the wind stops, that's what defines a great entrepreneur. I've never seen the wind stop the way it has. I think we're dealing with, and we mentioned it before, the economy, inflation, the cynicism with consumers, Amazon, everything you can buy online, data, AI. I mean, the complexity of the world. The small business owner used to have to be very good at their product, their premise, their people, their promotion, their price point.
Different hats, like many hats at
But today it's a 3-dimensional chess game because just when you think you figured out this business, something else changes. But I'll tell you, the small business owners that survived the pandemic are the best small business owners we've ever seen because they learned resilience like no other. And I'm confident the ones that survive the next couple of years of this economy are going to see their ability to take their life and livelihood to new heights because they're just going to be that much faster, better, and more agile. And the interesting thing about today's world is it's no longer about scale. It's no longer about how big is my manufacturing plant and my nearest shipping route? Is there a way to move my goods? It's so much of it is about ingenuity, intellectual, emotional capital, and the ability to access the world through the cloud. So for the small business owners that go after it that way, there's no ceiling.
Right.
But you've got to get to that point, and that's going to take a lot of incredible effort because I think we're going to see, sadly, a lot of people on Main Street have struggled this year. A lot of restaurants, a lot of people that and listen, they've got their assets tied up.
Yeah,
it's just thinking about small business for people that don't realize it. Is it a lot of people? Hey, I got laid off today, but I still have my assets, and I can go get another job. Maybe I even got a 6-month package of severance. Small business owners are often all in. My personal life, my family life, my assets are all there. Everything's at stake. Yes. And, when they get hit with a sledgehammer, it takes down more than just the fact that I've got a title on my business card.
Yeah, that's correct. Tony, this is a very important question for myself as well. You manage your businesses through 3 significant economic downturns. What did you learn that you would like to share with our listeners today?
The first thing I learned is you feel like you're alone, but you're not. And so there's people to reach out to. We immediately think when things are bad that we want to hide things from our bank, our advisors, our friends or family. And it becomes very stressful because you feel like you're all alone. You're all by yourself. The first thing I learned is sharing is important. Let people know what you're going through, why you're feeling this stress. The second thing is you're going to have to make tough decisions. And the toughest decisions I've ever made in my life is letting people go because I feel I failed them. And that's the hardest thing to get through. And I can promise you, if you're an empathetic person, you'll never, ever lose the scar of what it was like to look at somebody across from you that believed in you. And 3 weeks later, you're saying, I can no longer afford you. Mm-hmm. So you just got to learn how to deal with it. That's part of the price to pay coming with having employees. And the third thing is it's tough. It's hard because there's so little wind out there for your sales. But if you do find a way to survive, I promise you the profit you earn in an economic downturn might not be as much as when your business was roaring, but it's going to be profit you're the most proud of.
Yeah, so it's important to keep moving. It's important to keep moving forward.
Always, I used to, when I started in this business, I really thought there's three types of businesses. Those that make things happen, those that are very good at watching and then responding, second in, and those that wondered what happened and they just refused to change. Today, I don't think the middle exists. You're either making things happen or you're wondering what happened. And I think it's so important. I think it was Nelson Mandela that said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. And I think that is one of the most powerful quotes because if not, it'll just feel like wet cement's being poured on you. Before long, your whole psychology and psyche will go from the word possibility to the word impossibility.
Right. So Tony, how old were you when you started this business, and what was your goal and motivation? Okay, this is what I want to achieve.
So I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. Even when I was a kid, I'd throw parties. I'd take the risk of bringing in a band, hoping my ticket sales would cover it. I'd put myself to university selling radio. So I've always willing to take this concept of risking it all for all the reward. And what that means is people will know on commission only sales or small business. If you succeed, there's no upside. But if you fail, there's nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
But I was always wired for that. And so my first real business, the agency, I was in my mid-20s. It was an agency called Communique, and came up with an idea that was very revolutionary, but I knew nothing of running an agency. And within a couple of years, we had over 100 employees and producing work all over the world. It was like a rock star agency. Mm-hmm. But knowing what I know now, back then, I would have run it very differently. Right. But at the time, we just had a lot of fun being a lot of young people creating this magic.
If you were ran this country, what would you do for small business owners to make it easier?
See, I talked about it earlier. I'm so frustrated that we want these vanity plates where a politician cutting a ribbon because they just spent tens of billions of dollars to attract a branch plant. I put all my money into the innovation economy. There's two things I would do. First of all, I'd be the most environmentally friendly at harvesting our natural resources. And every barrel of non-renewable resource we took out of the ground, I would take some money and put it into innovation economy. Innovation happens through small business owners. I would, for example, if you're on Main Street, I'd give you a cut on GST so the consumer knows they can save shopping locally. I would put any kind of resource I could to allow small business owners to be as digitally smart and as data smart as the big businesses. I'd be training them how to use AI so they can continue to expand their reach without having to expand their risk. I'd be doing all of this because to me, from the small business, we can create the next Blackberries, the next Nortels, the next Canada Goose. From small business owners, we can create content that people watch around the world. And that's what I would be doing. I'd be going all in to unleash this. And that means getting rid of the bureaucracy that the government puts in, interprovincial trade barriers. I'd be making it so tax advantage to be a small business owner. I'd reward you when you hired people. I'd be doing everything I can to say, you're the way we're going to grow our way forward and get the much needed productivity back into our economy versus just thinking we can rent it because some company wants to put a plant in Ontario because our subsidies are better than another country.
Why would taxpayers pay for that? Or is there short and long-term benefit to Canada?
Short term, we could present this as the sense that it is the heart of our economy. And just imagine your Main Street without small business owners. Imagine all of these different office parks that are around here without small business owners. So the first thing you could just say is just imagine life without the energy of what they bring every day to your main streets. That's an emotional argument. Then I'd go to the head argument mathematically and show that all of the job creation in Canada, much of the innovation in Canada, much of the excitement and energy comes out of small business. And I'd also say to them, if we could align our universities and what they teach and our small business owners and the unmet needs they're going after and make them work at one and do a real apprenticeship program so that when I'm going to university, I'm also going to cut my teeth into small business. I think from the taxpayer's point of view, it would be the best investment ever. it's a very different strategy than what we've got right now, which is just going to bore our way to the future. Oh, you want dental care? No problem. We'll just borrow some more money. You want this? No problem. No, this is about productivity, growing our economy, growing our tax base, strengthening our social net, and setting up our kids for the future.
Yeah. Tony, what do you think will happen with AI? Are there both threats and opportunities to small business owners?
I've been raising AI for 5 years, and a lot of people called me Luddite. And you got to understand, and people went from the farms to the factories, more jobs were created, and all of this stuff. And I hope they're right. For me, I think we're going to see massive job losses. Denise is a good friend of mine. She's a neighbor down the street. Up until 4 months ago, she was an animator for Disney, Fox Studios. I mean, a high-end animator. Yeah. And I asked her, how's your animation business going? She says, I haven't had any work in 4 months. AI took it all.
Because of the AI.
AI, artificial intelligence, took it all. So I have a feeling we're going to see massive job losses. And we got to be thinking this as Canada with our immigration, because I want to bring people in this country that can get a job, not be in an Uber. And so I think there's a real issue that we're dealing with in terms of where are we going to find our purpose and our passion if work goes away. For an opportunity for small business, so interesting enough, you get to have the skill set of multinationals if you start really mastering it. If you start understanding it, AI should tell you what products you should be putting on your shelf if you're a retailer. AI should teach you how to personalize, to do your Facebook and Instagram ads. AI should be able to tell you down the road where's the best investment. My training of my staff. You can use AI to your advantage as small business to make your slingshot a lot more powerful than it is today. And that's where the magic is for small business. So for small business that embrace it, I think it'd be an absolute gift set. For economy overall, I hope I'm proven wrong, because I think in 5 or 10 years from now, the unemployment is going to be at a crisis point, because I've yet to see a society where high unemployment leads to the creative renaissance everybody's talking about. What I often see with high unemployment is people are radicalized. They join gangs. They join anything where they feel they can belong with a purpose. Right. That's what work does. So I hope as a society we figure out very quickly, where are people going to go to validate themselves as a human being and to pursue a path in life that they're passionate about.
Yeah. So it means like you see AI is like more being a threat than an opportunity.
I think overall it's going to be listen, it's going to cure disease. It's going to cure cancer.
Right.
It's going to operate on my heart because I know exactly what to the millimeter what my artery width is and where exactly to put a stent. It's going to do all these things. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah. No question. But at the other side of it, the casualty is it is going to either negate or eradicate the value of human work. And anytime I take away your value, and listen, we saw it a lot of, when we colonized different countries, we took away the value of the people that were there. Think of what happens. So anytime you eradicate human value, it comes at a consequence and a price. And if people say AI is not going to do that, then why is Denise not animating those cartoons anymore?
Right.
Because that was her value. Yeah. She loved doing animation for major studios. She hasn't had any work since AI.
Oh my God. So sad to hear that. Yeah.
But that's, I think that's going to be lawyers. I think that's going to be heart surgeons. I think it's going to be accountants and auditors down the road because machines work 24/7. They don't ask for holidays. Correct. They don't go on strike.
Right.
And unless we can all work for our government, which I don't think is economically possible, we got some big things we got to figure out.
Tony, what is your advice to small business owners when it comes to AI?
Take advantage of it. Absolutely embrace it. Get somebody that's in your family that's playing with it. Get them to subscribe to UAI, ChatGPT. Take the premium service. Get them to start learning how to prompt it. It's all about prompting. Like this AI has got this knowledge base. It's like you've got an orchestra. It's the biggest orchestra you can imagine. But when do I ask for the flute? When does the violin come in? When should it be a melody? When should we be having percussion? That's what you got to learn AI to do for you. So you got to understand it, how to prompt it to give you the answers you need to manage your business. If you do that, I think you're going to have an incredible advantage because you've never had access to that. Amazon has all the data. You want to think, if you're a store owner, when Imagine if that person coming to your store, you knew where they lived, what they bought in the past, what they searched for online. You knew what their spouse was doing. You know they like the color red, and you know that this headline is something they're apt to go after versus that headline. Think of that's what Amazon has as their advantage, trying to market that same customers come in your store. AI is going to help you close that gap.
Dear folks, we will take a short break, and when we come back, I ask Tony what makes for a successful entrepreneur.
Are you tired of this relentless storm of negativity, this growing sense of impossibility? I am. My name is Tony Chapman, and I created a podcast called Chatter That Matters, now ranked in the top 1% of most popular in the world. I chat with athletes and artists, world thinkers, global leaders, and people who overcome great odds. Why? Their life stories inspire me, and I hope they inspire you. Download Chatter That Matters wherever you get your podcasts. It's Tony Chapman. Let's chat soon.
Tony, on Chatters That Matters, you have interviewed many entrepreneurs, including Arlene Dickinson, Jim Ellis, Fenella Bruce. What you have learned from talking to them? Are there any common denominators, or do they break the mold each time an entrepreneur is born?
That's a fabulous question. So I've always looked at talent as head, heart, and hands. Some people are really smart. Some people are emotionally gifted. They have empathy. And some people have a bias for action. To me, a great entrepreneur effortlessly has all three. You look at Arlene Dickinson. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Her heart, though, because she came, single mom, 4 kids, no education. She has so much empathy for people that are struggling because she used to struggle. Bias for action. She celebrated 65 last year. She's just started a new fund and a new business. Jim Estelle, same thing. Incredible business person. He ended up being on the board of Danby Appliances. They asked him to come in and run it. He's turned this into a powerhouse. What does he do with his money? He opens up a warehouse and collects gently used furniture and helps Syrian refugees that came into this country not only get set up in a home, but get a job. Right? So these people are giving back. Fenella Bruce, the first woman of color in media, really. And she grew up in an all-male world where, the jokes were, no pun intended, off color. And she found a way to lift the entire industry because she believed in better media. Right. So to put it all together, I think a great entrepreneur sees an unmet need, goes after it with such extraordinary head, heart, and hands. And when they get there and they achieve it, they celebrate it and share it with others.
Tony, what was your superpower as an entrepreneur? 3 successful businesses and an exit, and your 4th reinvention as a content platform.
My if I had a superpower, it's insight. And insight is the ability to identify an unmet need that's meaningful, that matters, hence Chatter That Matters, and then find a way to deliver on that need at a price that that person's willing to pay and a price you can profit from.
Yeah, that's good. Tony, can that be bottled and sprinkled across Canada?
Absolutely. The thing I say to people about insight is we tend to very much get caught up into our own story. We're the hero of the story. This is our life we're battling. But I think people that are insightful are naturally curious. And you could just look at us. We sat down for the first time and you were trying to ask me about my life. I was trying to ask you about your life, right? Yeah. And that to me is insight, is when if you think about anybody that matters to you, parent, children, friends, family, customers, suppliers, investors, RBC, your bank, understand that anybody you come in touch with is on a journey through life. Right. And these people are looking to have more safety, security, or they're looking for love or a sense of belonging. They want to be part of something, small business community. They're looking for purpose, passion. They're looking to understand their meaning of life, or they might be looking to overcome something they never asked for, a pandemic, a health crisis, but they're on these journeys. And to me, what I would bottle if I could for people is stop thinking of what's happening around you. Slow things down. Look at the person that matters to you. Try to really understand where they're going, and then say to yourself, can I help them get to where they need, want, and deserve to go? Can I be the Yoda? Can I be the fairy godmother that takes Cinderella to the ball? And if you could play that role, then you truly matter to them.
Right.
And that to me is what insight is. So, so many people go, I've got this great idea for business.
Right.
Oh, this app's going to be fantastic. And I always say to them, who's that for and why does it matter?
Right.
Oh, that people are going to love it. They can schedule their calendar. I said, okay, so tell me, what's the insight? Right. Is the insight that I've got 26 hours in a 24-hour day? Is the insight is that I'm feeling out of control? I'm chaotic? Is the insight in the sense that I need to demonstrate my value to somebody that wants to look at my calendar? Like, who are you doing it for? And when you start thinking about that, then I think you become a better entrepreneur, but more importantly, a better person.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Tony. It's very important, as you said, to stop, think, and act and learn why it matters. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, why does it matter? Where is this person going and where they're heading in life? And what are they trying to build? And if you put on such a phenomenal conference every year and I'm going to go, where are you going to take that? Is it, I got this idea. I want to take a bus across Canada. I want to stop in 6 cities and do a road tour to celebrate small business owners. It's, wow, if I knew that about you, let's say, geez, how can I help? What can I do differently? I've got media relationships in those 6 cities. Maybe we can do something and tie them in. Or I've got, I know you're always going to be out in Calgary. Well, Arlene's a good friend of mine. I know she's busy, but maybe she can come in and maybe she'll be the bus driver as you pull in town for the media, right? Yeah, and we start brainstorming that way because I know that and it's not just because you want to do a bus, because you're seeing how much this is going to create excitement for small business owners. Right. Then we're all part of the same dream. There's if I can, a quick story. The story of the person that's on this beautiful hike. It's a June morning. The greens are so green. It's that temperature when you're in the sun, you're taking off sweatshirts, but when you're in the shade, it's still chilly. It's just gorgeous. And it's so beautiful and quiet out there. They can hear birds singing in the thermals. Right. But he turns the corner and he's kind of noisy. He's got to head west and stumbles upon a rock quarry. Mm-hmm. There's dust and dirt and all up and down the mountain looks like ants. It's people cutting rock, and he's kind of got to get through there. And he goes to the first person, "What are you doing?" The person looks and says, I'm cutting a rock. Oh. And second person gets the same answer. Third person doing the exact same job, but she's singing and she's happy. He says, well, what are you doing here? Yeah. She says, I'm part of a team. We're building a great cathedral. Oh. And that to me is the magic when you go from thinking the world is transactional to transformational. Mm-hmm. She was part of a bigger story. Somebody had animated what was happening. Maybe she was thinking, today I could be cutting the cornerstone. Right. I could be cutting the key for the arch. That's what could be what I'm doing. You approach life differently because you're part of somebody else's story. And I think if that's something we can bring out to people and we can all come together and create Canada's story, I think that this would be just, the headwinds would still be there, but there'd be so many tailwinds that are back, we could easily battle through them.
Yeah. Tony, can you give us a 90-second tutorial?
The best thing I would say is stop telling your story and become part of theirs. Just build on what I just said. That everybody wants to talk about Coke is it. I've got the fastest network, 5Gs. Federal Express, you have UPS, and UPS has done a great job against them. Federal Express years ago, they looked at the business and said, we're in the courier business. Right. Well, so's 10,000 others. But they said, when somebody puts out a courier at night, this was before email, they go home, they worry all night, will it get there? So they came out with when it positively has to get there. They realized it was a bigger story than sending a parcel. It was peace of mind. And when you start thinking of that, somebody comes in, you're selling your custom front doors. And you find out that the headwinds, oh my God, the cost of me making a door in Canada, they're bringing in these import doors. And you say, well, is your door the same? No, mine's solid oak, SK. I got hand-mounted hinges. I got the best locks. I said, well, you're in trouble because if it's just price. But what if an older couple comes in and you find out that what they're really worried about is crime in the neighborhood? And you tell them, when you shut my door, it's like a drawbridge. Nobody breaks through it. Right. Or a young couple comes in, they just bought a beautiful renovated house, but they haven't got a lot of money to fix it up. Right? Bought a house and they want to renovate. They don't have a lot of money to fix it up. This is the first impression. Every time you go in and out of that door and you hear that latch close, you know that this is the first step in unfolding your dream. You become part of their moment, their story. You're a well-dressed guy, but if you're coming into a store and you said, I'm looking for a nice white shirt, and the person just looked up and said, yeah, I got some over there. What size are you? Yeah. Maybe you buy the white shirt, but if I went, Why? What's up? Okay, well, I'm I've got an annual conference coming up. I got to be on stage. On stage? How many people there? Wow, 500? I got an outfit for you. Next thing you know, they're selling into your moment.
Right.
They're selling you a suit, a shirt. So when you go out on that stage, you got your superpower on.
Right.
That to me is the 90-second tutorial. Stop telling your story, become part of theirs.
And the one thing to be remembered today, Tony.
The one thing to be remembered today is you are the heart of our Canadian economy. It's in our collective business to keep you beating strong. I think that you are all heroes. You're all warriors. More often than not, you're all in. And I'll tell you something. There's millions upon millions of Canadians that have your back, that are cheering for you. Thank you for what you do, for the energy in Main Street, and never, ever not walk with swagger, because you are that important to me, to SK, and to this country.
Thank you. Tony, for those listeners who are eager for second gem from Tony Chapman.
Second gem would be, life is not a dress rehearsal. I'm speaking at Sheridan College today to a bunch of kids, and I'm going to say I can't call them kids because that's how old I am now, but life's not a dress rehearsal. And you can either make your destiny a matter of chance, and I'm not sure I would leave it to chance in today's world, or you can make it a matter of choice. And it's not a magic wand. There's no business book, 5 steps to that. It's what we talked about from day one. It's about thinking, feeling, and doing, always moving forward, because the more people fall back on their back feet because they just think this world is so impossible, the more you have an opportunity to make it possible. So just keep making it possible.
And any final thoughts, or should I say anything else matter?
I just think what matters, what I've learned as I'm getting to my part of my life where I look back, is I think the things that matter most are the people that mattered most to you. They were there. My mom with the lemonade stand, the manager of the radio station that said, "Hey kid, you can sell." Mike Preston and Leo Slocum, that first believed in me as an entrepreneur. My wife, who puts up with my never want to slow down mentality. So just make sure you spend the time thanking the people that helped you.
Right.
And when people come to you for help, be there for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining us today. It was a pleasure hosting you. I believe myself and our listeners have learned and will learn a lot of lessons from our conversation today.
Well, if they learn 5% of what I've learned from being around small business owners, then that's an hour well spent.
Yeah, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of another insightful conversation here at the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. A huge thank you to Tony Chapman for joining us today and sharing his invaluable perspectives and experiences. Tony's journey and advocacy for small businesses and entrepreneurs are truly inspiring. To our listeners, we hope this episode has offered you valuable insights and inspiration. Remember, the transcript of today's show is available in the show notes, so you don't need to take notes. A special thanks again to our partners RBC, UPS and Xero for their continued support in empowering small businesses across Canada. Your commitment to the growth and success of entrepreneurs is deeply appreciated. Until next time, I'm SK, reminding you that behind every successful small business is a story worth telling. Keep striving, keep innovating, and keep supporting local. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more inspiring stories on our next episode.